Great, well, we will get started. So thank you everyone for making it back here. So congratulations, it is day 7. And I know some of you guys have been here every single day this week. So I think that's just so impressive just to be jumping into meditation and being able to stick with it. And I think that's probably the hardest thing with meditation is just to make it a consistent practice. So I think you guys have done just amazing, just committing to this week, and I'm excited to hear, your thoughts about it. So first, I just wanted to do a quick recap of what we've learned for the week. And remember, all of these videos are posted on YouTube or Facebook, so you guys have those links if there's anything that you wanted to go back. But I just wanted to do a recap of what we learned before getting into today's teaching. So the first day, we practiced an awareness of breath meditation, and that's really one of the most common, most accessible meditations. It's generally most people's, including myself, go to, because it's just easy just to sit in. And that's the meditation where it really allows us an opportunity to observe our thoughts without engaging in them, because we can place the focus on our breath. And that we just act as an anchor. So every time we catch ourselves in a train of thought, we just bring the focus back to the breath. That's also where we learned that our mind is like a clear blue sky. So we can think of our thoughts as clouds that are kind of just passing through, but we don't need to engage with it. We're the observer. And I think that might be a new concept, because I think generally before learning about meditation, we tend to think we are our thoughts. So any thought that comes in or out of consciousness, we tend to believe. Meditation gives us that ability to step back. And we can observe what's there, but we don't actually have to engage, we don't actually have to believe, depending on what that thought is. So on day 2, we practiced a loving kindness meditation. So that's a meditation that helps us cultivate kindness and compassion for ourselves and others. And that truly is a feeling or emotion that can be cultivated. So I think often we think either people are kind or compassionate or they're not, but it is really something that can be cultivated with practice. And while the mindfulness practices, which we've spent a lot of time on, gives us the wisdom to be in the present moment and to see clearly, that's just sort of one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is really cultivating kindness and compassion, and we need both. So I really encourage you throughout your meditation practice to make sure you do integrate the loving kindness as well. Like I said, I tend to, if I had a preference, it would be the mindfulness practices, the awareness of breath, but I know that loving kindness is really important as well to cultivate. And not only does it have all the same physical benefits as the other meditations, it also increases our positive emotions like joy, connection with others, gratitude, and it decreases some of the more negative emotions like anger or resentment. So it's truly an important practice. On day 3, we practiced a mantra meditation. So again, mantra translates to instrument of the mind. And it's a word or phrase that's said over and over again. And really it helps to protect our mind from unhelpful thoughts. And depending on the word or phrase, it can also help to cultivate a particular consciousness. So we used the mantra Sat Chit Ananda, which translates to my soul exists in complete fulfillment. And really what that's saying is that at our core, so at that blue sky where we're not affected by each thought or passing emotion, we're bliss, we're joy. So I think that's a beautiful mantra. Day 4, we did a body scan meditation, and really the goal of that meditation is to trigger a relaxation response, so to get us in a state of deep relaxation. So that day we learned a little bit about the sympathetic nervous system, so that is our fight, flight, freeze mechanism. And while that was definitely designed for a reason, because of our culture and society today, we're almost always activated. Part of it is because we have so much exposure to the news, we're so accessible to people, and if we're always activated, that can cause a lot of physical and emotional problems. So we have to take the conscious effort to bring it back down, so to trigger our parasympathetic nervous system. And one of the ways that we can do that is through relaxation. So practices like body scan or massage, acupuncture can help as well too. So on day 5, we added a mudra to our awareness of breath meditation. And the mudra we took was dhyana mudra, which is the right hand on top of the left with the thumbs touching. And this is a traditional mudra for meditation as it helps to cultivate a deeper sense of concentration. So a mudra is just a hand gesture that we can do with our hands that kind of acts as an energy sail. It helps lock in, cultivate a particular type of consciousness. And if you're in my yoga classes, you know I often introduce mudras. Day 6, we did a mudra and a mantra. So we talked a little bit about the two wolves inside of us, so the evil wolf and the good wolf, which really translates to our ego and to our higher self. And the one who's going to win, is, like the story tells us, is the one that we feed. So with a meditation practice, we can start to differentiate between the voices we hear. So the voices that are fear-based, like telling us that we're or others not good enough, or the voice of love that's being encouraging and offering goodwill. And we can choose not to engage with the bad wolf or the ego. So the mantra and the mudra that we worked on yesterday was really to cultivate more inner knowledge, so a bigger, larger sense of peace. So that was our recap of today, of this week. So today we are going to practice an open awareness meditation, which I will go into in more detail. But I also just wanted to start today with another story that I think will help to illustrate today's teaching. And if you guys are, again, if you're in my yoga class, you've probably heard me tell this story, but I think it's a good one, so probably worth hearing again. So this story is about the Chinese farmer. So it's an old parable. So a Chinese farmer, he had a horse, and the horse ran away. So all the neighbors came to him that night, and they said, "Oh my God, that's terrible that your horse ran away." And the Chinese farmer simply said, "Maybe." And then the next day, the horse came back, and it brought with it 7 wild horses. The neighbors are like, "That's amazing. You have all these new horses. This is just the greatest thing that ever happened." And the farmer was like, "Maybe." Then the next day, his son was training one of the wild horses. The son got kicked off the horse and ended up breaking a leg. The neighbors came over that night and said, "Oh, that's terrible. You know, your son broke your leg. I'm so sorry to hear that." The farmer again just replied, "Maybe." And then the next day, the army conscription officers came, and they were recruiting all of the young men to come into an army they had to fight into a war. But when they saw that the son had broken his legs, they didn't want the son in the army. So that night, the neighbors all came by and said, "That's great that your son wasn't enlisted. You know, he probably saved his life." And the farmer said, "Maybe." So really, the moral of that story is that we simply don't know what's good or bad. So the things that we think are really bad, they might not be. And the things that we think are going to be good, they might not be. And I just wanted to read this quote. It's from Kurt Vonnegut. I think it really illustrates that point. And he says, "The truth is, we know so little about life, we don't really know what the good news is and what the bad news is." And I think this is just such a great teaching. And it really comes into meditation is because meditation helps us approach things with equanimity. So often throughout our day, as things happen, we immediately label them good or bad. But nothing is inherently good or bad. Those are just subjective labels that we give them. So meditation allows us to take a step back, and rather than judging things are good or bad, we can see them for what they truly are. We don't need to make that judgment. And then when we do that, when we can accept things as they are in the present without always labeling, that gives us a sense of peace. So we're cultivating a sense of equanimity. So what meditation really does is it helps us go beyond desire, the things that we want, the things that we're grasping for, and aversion, the things that we are going to avoid, the things that we don't want. And we just can accept things as they are in the present moment. And when we go beyond desire and aversion, we realize that we have a blissful state. And again, that goes back to Sat Chit Ananda, my soul exists in complete freedom. And I know this might be a little hard to comprehend right now, but I would encourage you the next time you start to think about like, "Oh, this is terrible," take the label off and just accept it for what it is. And I think right now, cultivating an equanimity is just the perfect practice as the world responds to COVID-19. And, it really makes you think, like, I think generally people are like, this is really bad. My whole life has been turned upside down. But the environment probably doesn't think it's bad. The pollution levels have been the lowest as it has been in years. People are also making more meaningful connections. And it's also maybe afforded you an opportunity to kind of turn inward and ask yourself questions about how your life is going and what you want to do. So even though things can initially seem bad, they might also have good aspects of it as well, too. And I think that's really one of the greatest things about meditation is it does gives us a chance to step back and look at things with equanimity and not label things good or bad. And it's definitely a practice. And again, I want to reiterate, because I feel like, and I know I was like this too, we think that we're going to get really good at meditation. It's more just an everyday practice, just doing it. I mean, I'm sure that there's going to be progress and you're going to notice difference. But just like riding a bike or learning any new skill, it takes time, it takes effort to start to see some of these changes, which is why I really hope that you guys all stick with it. So today we are going to practice an open awareness meditation. Now, in many of the meditations we've done, we've had an anchor point. So whether it was the breath, a mantra, a mudra, in this meditation, we don't have any anchor point. We're just going to let us be our mind completely open. We'll be totally aware of bodily sensations, noticing thoughts as they come and go, maybe noticing the sounds from outside, feeling how your body feels today. We'll try not to engage with everything, but just acting as the observer, noticing everything that comes. And this is definitely more of a challenging meditation than when we have our anchor point, but what it does is it helps us to cultivate the ability to be in the present moment, to notice different subtleties, and also to cultivate discernment as well too. So it will teach us to be equanimous. Sorry, I can't always pronounce words as easily as I would like. So this is what we're going to practice today. So you can start by getting into a comfortable seat, so maybe shoulders stacked over hips. And you can decide, do you want to rest your palms in your lap, or if you want to take a mudra, you could take Dhyana Mudra here. And you can just close your eyes. And I think with all meditations, regardless of which one you begin with, it's always nice to start with the breath. So you can just start to turn inward and just start focusing on the breath. Because the breath has just such a grounding properties where it helps us to reconnect with our body. And you can start to notice the inhales and the exhales. And I'll start by guiding you in different areas just to start focusing on, just to become aware of, but then I'm going to let you just kind of take it on your own and just be aware of anything that arises. So to start, you may feel a particular area of the body as the breath manifests in it. So whether it's the chest rising and falling, or the air entering and exiting the nostrils. You can start to become aware of how your hands feel, whether they're in a mudra or whether they're just placed in your lap. Just feeling the connection that the hands are either making with each other or the contact on your body. And you can start to notice, how does it feel to be seated? whether you're on a chair or a cushion, just noticing the contact of your body. Maybe if there's any aches or uncomfortableness, and you can try to adjust yourself, or maybe just observe and see what happens. See if you can feel any sensations on your skin. See if you can sense the perimeter of your body. And then we'll start to extend that awareness outward. You might notice if you hear any sounds. Or smells. And noticing that even sounds and smells almost act just as thoughts. They come into your consciousness and then they come out. And now just starting to relax into open awareness. And being fully present to anything you experience. Thoughts, strong emotions, bodily sensations. And if you start to feel that you're getting carried away by any one thing in particular, you can turn the focus back to the breath, back to your anchor, and just see what happens if you just start to observe. And as thoughts start to come and go in your consciousness, rather than engaging or adding to the storyline, maybe you just approach it with curiosity as far as, oh, interesting. That's what thought just came to mind. Remember that you're none of these things that are coming into your consciousness. You are the observer of them. all your senses are awakened. And you're just allowing everything to be exactly as it is. Remember not to label as things arise. So the stiff back is not good or bad, it's just a stiff back. You can approach things with curiosity, but not without judgment. We'll start to come out of this meditation the same way we came in. So just start to, for the last moment or so, return the focus back to the breath. It's just coming back into the body. And almost starting all over again, just focusing on the breath. And you can slowly start to open your eyes. And starting to come back. So that was our open awareness meditation. So it can be a little bit more challenging, I think, than the others with not having an anchor point, but it's also just very, very powerful, again, just to kind of help us, teach us how to be in the present moment, because that is something that I think that we can forget because there are so many distractions in our day-to-day life. So that's really a good one to help bring us back to the present moment and just observe everything that is around us. But I wanted to thank you guys again for coming to this challenge, and I love doing challenges like this. I just wanted to say one of the reasons I don't often teach corporate mindfulness, I do occasionally, but what I don't like about corporate mindfulness is the idea that meditation is to make you more productive or to increase the company's bottom line. Meditation is so much more than that. It's to cultivate inner wisdom. It's to cultivate compassion and kindness to others so we can get along in the world with peace and ease and love. So that's why I love doing challenges like this where, I can kind of show the full spectrum. So I wanted to thank you for being part of that. I am going to send out a survey probably in the next hour or two that I would really appreciate if you could fill it out. The survey is anonymous. It's just really to get feedback on this challenge because I'd love to continue to refine it, as well as your other interests, because I'd love to be able to offer more challenges or classes or workshops. So I'd love to understand more about what it is that you're trying to cultivate or what could be of value to you. So I would appreciate if you could fill that out. And of course, if you had any other feedback that you just wanted to talk to me about, you can just email it to me. That would be great as well too. But again, I want to thank you guys so much for coming, and I will unmute you all now. And I hope you guys continue with the practice. I know it's easy to sometimes push meditation aside. It doesn't always get prioritized as high, but if we can kind of think of it as brushing our teeth, I'm pretty sure most of us brush our teeth every morning. You know, I think it's probably one of the most impactful practices that we can add to our lives.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome, Janet. Thank you.